This is Baruch Fleischman, your lift manager here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. And I'd like to point out to you that right below and what we see on our screen right now is a picture that comes from the prayer, the very final prayer in the Shemona Esrei called Oleno, that is in the Amida, called Olenu. But over here it shows it in a Rashash Siddur, and all I came over here was to show you one thing. Now this is a progression. We're not going to explain about this progression at this time. And it goes Yud, Yud K, Vav, right? And then it goes Yud K, Vav K. Now, if you take this name that we come here, Yud K, Vav K, and we'll disregard what we have down below as the 6 Hays, and just look at this, we'll see that the number comes out to be the Gematria 63, which is the same Gematria as the name Saba. So we're going to see this in a minute in our shir. So Saba is the Gematria, and we're about to see it again. Let me bring it over here. We're on page Nun Hey, and this is the shir for the 4th day of the week of Parsha Titzaveh on page Nun Hey. So we're going to read just the top to start with and see what we get into. The Zohar says, Rebbe Shimon and Rebbe Elazar, they were walking along their way. They were traveling. So there were actually 4 of them. Rabbi Abba and Rabbi Yosef were with them. As they were traveling, they came across a certain Saba. Now let's look at it again. Saba is the number. Samach is 60. Base is 2, 62. One more makes 63. And that is the name that we were just looking at again. This is actually a complete name of Yud K Vav K. It has a gematria of Saba. So understand there are deeper things going on in the Zohar. Not sure what they are. I'm looking. So it says, so he says, where's this ad Saba? And he was holding on in his hand. He had a little child with him. He was walking along with a little child. Now, in many places in the Zohar, which I mentioned before, is this mysterious Yanok that pops up in different places and says, amazing Torah. Question is what's the use of the way? What metaphor is it that we're talking about? Yanok is a Lashon Yanika, which is like nursing. So it's a very young child. Zakov Eina Rebbe Shimon. So Rebbe Shimon lifted up in his eyes, v'hamalei, and he saw this Saba. So he said, v'hamalei the Rebbe Abba. So he said to Rebbe Abba, Vadai milin chadati is gebon b'hai Saba. It's for sure that he's going to teach us some Torah over here that's going to be something new, something we haven't seen before. Kadmato the Gabe, so when he came to them, they met up. Rebbe Shimon, but Malto the Tufrach, he says, from the load that I see that you're carrying, Begabach along with you, Ka'asis, that you're coming from a long distance. Manat, who are you? Amala Yudoyana. He says, I'm a Jew. I'm a Milin Chadatin Vadai Yom Badada Gabach. He said this, so Rebbe Shimon said to him, he says, certainly, that now you've come here, I know. Rebbe Shimon recognized this person, or recognized the Chochmah of this person. So he said, Ledala Gabach, there's something special that you're going to tell us. Am Leilan Hu Arach. He says, where is the land that you're coming from? I was living amongst those who had separated themselves, and they had gone out to live in the desert. And over there they would sit and they would learn Torah. The Yeshuva, but now I'm coming to civilization. The Mesiv Betzila the Kudshabarichu, in order to dwell under the shade of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, Be'ilun Yoma the Yarka Shaviyah in this time of the 7th month. Now, this particular Torah that we're reading goes along with different cycles of the year. So let's go on. So now he says, Rebbe Shimon was extremely happy about this. Now let me see. I've got a lot of light on this. I think it's too much. I'm going to push this over here. See if that helps. So he said, Rebbe Shimon was very happy. It says, please sit down. The Vadai Kudsha Barichu Shadrach Lagabon. So for sure, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent you to us. So he says, I swear, that I'm listening now. So I don't know what the lashon was that he swore, but he says, "Bepumach," to hear what you have to say. Because I know you're going to tell me a direction in learning Torah that I hadn't seen before. These are milin chadatim metikim, the ancient words that are the naatrin, the netatun tamid b'madbra, that were planted over there by you. In other words, what was growing over there in this desert in which you were found. Mechai yarcho shebiyach, specifically when we're talking about this 7th month. So why did you leave that place now? But the Meisel of the Yeshuva come out of that desert where you were able to live and learn Torah over there by yourselves, and now you're coming into civilization. So what's going on? So Amalehahu Saba. So the Saba said to him, B'she'el Tador, for this question that you're asking, I can see that you are a wise person. And the words that you're saying are actually coming from the firmament of Chochmah. Now, I don't know what the firmament of Chochmah is yet, but let's see this little Matak B'Devash, and let's pick it up a little bit. Let me see if I can get it up where we can see it. There it is. So, Amalo Saba, the Rebbe Shimon, the Shabbos said to Rebbe Shimon, B'She'el Tadar Yidanda the Chochmah Zagabach. That I know shechachma yeshbach. And again, like we said before, this is the part I wanted to see. And that your words, they're arriving from the Rikiya of Chachma. Now, what does this mean? But the Veracha Magi and the Rikiya, but he said, for your words are going to the Rikiya Shal Olam B'Chatzilus of Olam Letzilus, which is, Rikiya usually refers to Zeranpin. Shuhu Sod HaChachma, which is the secret of Chachma. And in this way, and in this way, I see that your Chochmah is actually making new firmaments, new relationships is what I think he means between Zohar and Yanok. So now we're going in. So the Saba began, and he said like this: the Farish Masha Kos, if he wants to look at this pasuk. He said, so this desert that I see, that Hashem Elokecho, he bore you through this, he lifted you up through it, like say for example you had your little child with you, and this is where it starts talking about that Yanok going back and forth. I don't know the secret of Yanok, but we're looking, we're working a little bit, trying. So he said, like it's carrying a child on your shoulders. Says the pasuk, this is what he really needed to say. And in that desert that I'm carrying you through, what does it mean that you saw it? You saw that desert. Lama cause of Ra'isa or Mataras, why did you say, what does it have to do with seeing it? So Kodesh Baruch Hu, that is usually when we're speaking here, we're talking about the male aspect, which is their anpen. So he carried, or he caused us to travel. He traveled with us into the desert. I think he means he carried us in the desert. Madra de Kifa, but this desert, this Madra, was a strong, powerful one. Snakes and all kinds of things, and midbar chazak b'toikef aklipos. And what was so hard about it? Because it was really the ultimate dwelling place of the klipos. Because you see over there, you have the serpent, you have the firing, maybe the firing creatures, va'akrav, and the poisoning animals, and the scorpion. But Simon also adds in the rest of the pasuk. I guess it says and thirst. Shehem dalad klipos. Now what are these? Let me go back over it and read it again. There said Nachash is one. He says Sraf is the second one. Va'akrav is the third one. But Simon and thirst is the fourth one. These correspond to the names of 4 particular klipos, of the 4 klipos, which are Avon, Mashchis, Af, and Chema. So all of these are lashon anger, accusation, bitterness, and poison. Because when a person, let me make sure I see this well. when one enters into places which are barren deserts. V'makom hashmema, places where things have been totally destroyed. Hu chelkam, this is really the place where you find the worst klipos. Uv'madbara de'ina de'ihu takif, in a desert that is so powerful. Medabra ba'alma. So he took them into that desert. But it had the worst klipos in it. More than all of the rest of the deserts in the world. So that desert that we traveled out of Mitzrayim was a place of tremendous danger. So that's a question. My time. So why would a Kodesh Baruch Hu want to bring us, as we're just a nation that has just emerged, into one of the worst places of the den of klipos that you could possibly go to? And Mitzvah begin the haku shata the nafku, because at the moment that the Jewish people left Egypt, the nafku Yisrael Mitzrayim, the fisha b'shasha yatzias Mitzrayim the hainu mishiva the klipos, from the fact that we were enslaved in the falseness of Mitzrayim, and into the very depth of the dwelling place of all false ideas, because we were sunk into the whole culture, into just because of the fact that we were ruled over by them. There was nothing else to see. But as this was happening, that we, during this period of time, and all of the sinking, we became 600,000 ribo. Because what he means to say is that the Jewish people grew. We grew to a state that we were crying out, that we became a vessel, the Shishim Rivo of the 600,000 Neshamas, which is the aspect of the upper Merkava. In other words, we were able to make a connection anyway. Oz is Takev Malchusa Kadisha Vistala Kalkula. But his Chazkara B'Malchusa Kedusha, what happened is, as a result of this growing, it fortified the Malchus and Kedusha, the control of the Shechina. Bekola Oilev in this Alo Al Kol Sari Mala, and she grew up over, because of course she's from Olam Atzilus and Kedusha, but took control, Al Kol Sari Mala, of all the main channels of the wrong path. Val Kochos HaKlipos, and all Kochos HaKlipos, she grew and grew until she controlled them. And then the moon began to shine. Now talking about the Malchus of Etzila, Zeira l'kol cheilacho b'l'kol Yisrael, she shined to all of her host and all of the Jewish people. Ukaden is kafir of Malchus. Let me see if I got this right. Ukaden is kafir Malchus chayve the Sitra Achra. Vaz nechnoah. So after that, he's able to humble and push down the Malchus of the Rishoyim, the control. Because opposite the Malchus of Kedusha is another Malchus. And this Malchus of Kedusha has overcome it because it's real and it's true. So he's a Malchus of Rishocha, the kind of the Sitra Achra. He had humbled down that Sitra Achra. Va'apek lon kudja barichu lemechach b'mad baruch the kafi kifa, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu took them out then to bring us through this very difficult desert. So now that we're taken out, we have now a shlita, that is the Malchus of Kedusha, a shlita, so she could take us, therefore the Kodesh Baruch Hu would take us out in the desert. Because this is the place where the Samach Mem lives. This is the place where all the perverseness in the world exists. Shuhu makam mem shalto shal samach mem harasha, the evil samach mem. Dihu delay mamish, because the desert belongs to the samach mem. Begin the savra tukfe v'chele v'lach t'sechel reisha. He brought us through the desert in order to be able to break tukfe, the power of the other side, v'chele, and all of its hosts, v'lach t'sechel reisha, and cut off its head. Kedei l'shvor tokvo v'kolcho v'lakantes as rosho, cut off his head, dahainu la'akar as shorsho b'shebegedusha, to uproot his shorish in kedusha. V'la'achvira v'lecha d'lo yishlot. Push him down to the point where he can no longer get up again and have control. Then we'll try to continue on tomorrow with God's help. This is the Zohar for today. Today is the fourth day of the week of Parshas Titzaveh. It's the day of Netzach. This is Baruch Fleischman. We're at the Tikkun Elevator Kola.